been a decision which has been taken on seat sharing, that the seat sharing probably could be finalized by 30th of September or maybe 1 or 2 days before. Apart from that, there is a resolution that more and more rallies now will be held across the country. There's also a resolution that India Bloc will contest the polls together as far as possible. And this word is in quotes, as far as possible. Apart from that, there is also a campaign committee. There's a working committee on the media management. But the big question is that does the opposition, that is the India Alliance, look stronger to tackle BJP? And does this leave BJP more worried post the Mumbai meet? Joining me now is Anand Sahai, senior journalist and former editor. Thank you so much for joining, Anand. We have Puneet Nicholas Yadav, who's the editor with the Federal. Thank you so much. We have TK Rajlakshmi, who's the deputy editor of the Frontline. Thank you so much, Rajlakshmi. And let me begin with Anand Sahai today. Mr. Sahai, I would really want to know from you that how would you rate the Mumbai meeting by the opposition? Are we in a position to say that the resolve and the bond looks much stronger and it looks more battle ready to fight BJP?
Yes, Neelu, it most certainly does in my view. I proposed 3 months ago, after the meeting in Bihar, in Patna, that in spite of the hiccup with Kejriwal staying away from the press conference about which so much was made in the media, in spite of that, I called it a case of immaculate conception, and which bore fruit in Bangalore with the name, and now you have a whole range of things which you just informed us about, you know, a committee of 13 or 14 people, campaign committee, joint campaign, etc. And the resolution, it's a very important resolution. It ties them down to getting these seats right within the framework of, roughly speaking, 1 month from now, roughly speaking, which is quick, which is pretty much double quick. Yes, I think so. Considering we are dealing with 28 parties. Of these 28 parties, let's keep in mind that in some places like Kerala, like Bihar, within the allies themselves, allies meaning long-standing allies, there are lots of small parties, and the only chance they will have is the Lok Sabha election. And therefore, there could be, you know, jousting there. And in spite of that, they are telling us, and therefore they are on test, that collaboratively they'll talk about it. They'll talk about it. They'll conclude the whole exercise at the earliest. They begin the exercise immediately. That's the word used, I think, in the resolution. All these, in my view, are very good signs. But we just keep one thing in mind, though, that we are talking not mathematics. We are talking politics. And therefore, let's be ready for slip-ups and not think that, well, because there has been a slip-up, therefore the whole thing, the project has gone crashing. That's not the case whatsoever, in my view. I think for the first time, we now have what I like to think of as an opposition for itself. You know, that's one. And two, it's an opposition for the people in their hour of the most dire need. You know, the atmosphere of sheer oppression across the country has not been seen for a very long time. When we had the emergency, the leaders were put away in jail. The ordinary people, there was an attack on a section of them by a section of the then ruling party, Congress party. You know, the man who led the charge is no longer alive now. But on the whole, the day-to-day bulldozing and burning and shooting and running trains and, you know, all these kinds of things, as though there has been a whole thing is very well synchronized. This atmosphere of fear we have not known before. That's one. The other takeaway, important takeaway, that you have parties like CPI, ML, and Shiv Sena, two ends of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
As far as the Shiv Sena is concerned, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi and Shiv Sena leader Mr. Thackeray, Uddhav Thackeray, they have shown us statesmanship of a high order. No one thought about 2 years ago that they would ever come together. And then if they did, it will be for purely tactical reasons confined to Maharashtra. They have stuck together so far. Now that's something to think about. So now let me conclude here for now that it was never on the cards that we will get a situation like the anti-emergency Janata Party, with Jayaprakash Narayan being the senior figure, who had an important ethical and moral tone to his voice always, because he was not seen as a competitor himself at a personal plane. So to have a Janata Party-like thing, everybody merging their respective entities and forming a new thing, was never on the cards. And I'm so glad it wasn't. Right. Because see what happened to Janata Party. Within a few months of coming to power, they scattered all over again, right? So while that was never on the cards, I think the whole exercise would be deemed successful, to my thinking, if, on roughly speaking, 70%, 65 to 70% of all the seats in India, if they're able to put up a common candidate against BJP. If they fall well below that, then I think the experiment has not worked.
Right. You very rightly put that, but I'll come to Rajlakshmi, that, there have been efforts from the BJP side, to somehow show that the India opposition bloc is just not working, and they try and derail when it comes to publicity and when it comes to the projections, positioning. There is an effort to, malign them, to downsize them as much as possible. But after this Mumbai meeting and whatever takeaways we know so far have emerged from this Mumbai meeting, do you feel that these developments will leave BJP in a desperate state? Will it leave BJP more worried from here on?
I think the BJP has been sufficiently rattled over this new solidarity that has emerged, and let me say consistent solidarity that has emerged among the opposition bloc, and it had ridiculed the formation right from day one. For instance, Ghamandia, India being called Ghamandia, and various kinds of epithets were being used quite loosely by the BJP and its senior ministers, including the PM also. In fact, I heard the Home Minister also used certain disparaging comments to describe the opposition. But with each passing day and with each passing joint meeting of this alliance, I think the BJP has enough cause, to worry, because this bloc has remained intact, and in fact, it is the potential of it adding to its ranks is also there. Some people have speculated that it was 26, it might be 28, it might go up also. So here you have more and more people, either individuals or parties who are gravitating towards this bloc, and it has remained consistent. After Patna, yes, there were lots of naysayers, including amongst the media, who said that this is not going to sustain. Who is the PM candidate? Who is your face? Who is going to lead the elections? Because so I think that debate has now, has receded somewhere. Doesn't assume so much of relevance, because because the opposition bloc itself is not giving so much importance to that component as to who is going to lead this, because that is not relevant. The only relevant part remains is that we have to oust the BJP, right? We have to ensure that the BJP is out, and therefore we are going to come to some kind of seat arrangements, and the fact that they have formed all these committees itself shows the extent of their seriousness. If it had just been a meeting of speeches or maybe press conferences, then one would have had at least some reason to feel cynical. But I think the fact that they have constituted these committees of around 10 to 15 people, and members from each party, senior people from each party. Well, there's a research committee also, apart from the social media and electoral campaign committee. So which means that they have paid attention to all these aspects, which may need to go into taking on the BJP politically as well as ideologically. And they've also decided to hold public rallies, which is a very significant part of the resolution, I think, because each of them, depending on the strengths that they have, their individual strengths in states, they will be able to sufficiently, I think, mobilize public opinion, because I think these parties also realize that you can't win a battle, just holding press conferences and making statements of intent, right? So you have to take these issues to the people. So you identify the issues and then you take them to the people in the form of public rallies. And I think that is a very significant thing. I think in the days to come, I think we'll be seeing more of that.
Right. But coming to the sticky issues now, and Puneet, I'll come to you, that if you look at the run-up to the Mumbai meeting and the kind of hype which was created for this particular meeting, saying that, there'll be a new logo, there could be an announcement on the convener, both these things have not happened. What do you think is the reason why the convener has not been announced? Or what are they thinking about the convener? That is one question. And also the unanswered question on the logo. Why was the logo not unveiled today?
Well, Neelu, see, with regard to the logo, firstly, yes, I mean, there were some differences among the constituents on what kind of logo they want, as a symbol of the coalition. But then I do not see the issue of the logo as being any major point of contention, because the logo really does not serve any great purpose there, except for maybe, drawing the background of rallies and all that. Because when you're contesting the elections, you're not going to contest the election on the India logo. You'll contest the election on on the symbols of your respective parties.
But we do have a common tagline now: "Judega Bharat, Jeetega."
Yes.
Yeah.
That tagline, in fact, had been decided almost within 24 hours of the Bangalore meet concluding. And it was decided that, next time when we meet, we're going to use this tagline. So that was there. Now, with regard to the convener, I think that is the larger issue. I don't consider the issue of the logo to be any major deterrent or, any big building block for this alliance. With regard to the convener, now there are various views. There is a section within this alliance that believes that we do not require a convener. And if we're talking about collective leadership, because it's 28 parties and growing, why do you want to, give a convener and then create an unnecessary debate over, this fellow is the convener, which means he's going to be the face of the campaign, he's going to lead the thing, he's going to be, is he fit to take on Modi, etc. I mean, that's one argument. The other argument is, you have, in an alliance such as this, there are multiple aspirants, and each of them is a Kshatrap in his own right. They're senior leaders, they're leaders with political heft, they're leaders with strong political bases, electoral bases, and so singling out any of them runs the risk of slighting somebody else, and that I do not think at a time when the alliance is looking for commonalities to build on would be the right strategy going forward. Because you'll end up starting with a note that may, at least for some constituents, be divisive. And now, for instance, I mean, it's been long speculated that Mr. Nitish Kumar has been lobbying to be made the convener. And of course, he's within his rights to do so. He's played a major role in bringing together some of the parties, which perhaps on the Congress's insistence may not have come together. So he has his own right. As does the Congress president, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, or even Mr. Sharad Pawar. So the logic behind propping up one convener at the cost of the other, I do not see that as anything that's going to help the alliance in any significant manner.
No,
and like Mr. Sahai said, that it's not a situation where you have a personality like JP, who is heads and shoulders above all the others, and who has such a strong. I mean, I'm not saying that the people in the India coalition do not have a moral fiber, but is not someone who's past the greed for ambition, etc. So
from certain quarters, there are reports that the India alliance might not have a convener also. How far are these reports true? Because some sections have already started talking about it.
Well, that is one of the proposals on the table that has been so since the Bangalore meeting, and I had in fact written extensively about it, that there is a very strong argument not to have a convener and instead just go ahead with the coordination committee and talk of collective leadership, because that also contrasts well with the style of functioning of the BJP under Mr. Modi.
Right.
Where one man's whim overrides everything else. So, I mean, it's a good contrast to make for the India alliance that, look, there's not, we are an alliance that is consultative, that talks, that believes in conversation, that believes in giving equal respect and weight to, all our partners, and it's not a one-man show. So there is also that proposal, and it's not without merit. Ultimately, they may or they may not announce a convener, but that's something that we'll know, maybe after another round of meetings, or
right.
Once the current meetings, the four committees that have been constituted have had a substantial amount of their own discussions.
Right. Mr. Sahai, I'd like to come to you, given the fact that Rahul Gandhi also today said that, this link between BJP and the corruption needs to be exposed more and more. So that brings us to the question that what you think will be the overriding issues. Of course, price rise, inflation, unemployment, all of that will be there under the main umbrella. But is corruption going to emerge as one major issue on which all the opposition parties will try and expose BJP, because BJP has been saying na khaunga, na khane dunga. So to puncture that narrative of BJP, do you think that corruption will emerge as one of the overriding and predominant issues?
I do not know that, but I hope it would. Corruption is a very, very, very fundamental thing. Next only in line to the communal onslaught which has been unleashed against the people of this country. What's being talked about today on the Adani issue, with the latest disclosures, which are a follow-up to the Hindenburg report, they are not the same thing. They don't cover the same ground. Although the Adani Corporation says that these are a rehash of old things, they are not. For the first time, we have people who've been named, who have been agents in transferring opaque funds. The word used has been opaque by the investigators.
Yes.
That's one. But before that, we had Rafale, transfer of that, and a completely, at that time, compromised Supreme Court of India, whose Chief Justice was rewarded shortly after. in full view of the country, with key questions simply not being permitted to be raised, with price documents not permitted to be sent to the Supreme Court by the CAG, with sealed covers, with notes, written unsigned notes accepted by the Supreme Court of India. These were some of the more shameful moments of our judicial history in recent times. Therefore, an ordinary people, this is at the apex level and at the people's lives level, the kind of corruption which BJP leaders will tell you, which ordinary people have to face in their daily living, in every aspect of it. So that has to be an issue. There's no question, regardless of whether the Prime Minister said, na khaunga, etc. It's all right. These are slogans. They vanish. But the point is, what do people feel in their daily lives?
Right.
Another question raised prominently by Rahul Gandhi, that the money which has gone out, the money which has done the round tripping, whose money is it? Whose money is it? I'm not sure what the figures are. What was being talked about was 20,000 crore rupees. That's approximately $3.5 billion US. That's one hell of a tidy sum of money. If you gave it to me, I wouldn't know what to do with it. So we are talking about big ticket corruption. We are talking about the closest of the closed nexus between the man who was the third richest individual in the whole world until only a few months ago,
right,
and possibly, allegedly, the person who holds the highest executive office in a country. So we are talking serious stuff now. So why will it not be reflected? This corruption should not be followed only because the ED, CBI, etc. are being unleashed against opposition leaders. That will be a tit for tat reason. But I'm not talking about that. I'm saying go to the basics. And of course, the fundamental question in India is everything that you spoke about, unemployment, price rise, people's lives, all of that. But the fundamental issue is communalism. If the country gets divided on the religious sectarian lines, you have no country left.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Rajlakshmi, I was also noticing on the first day when the informal talks were happening in Mumbai, there was a simultaneous and a parallel meeting of the civil society groups where about 150 civil society members were holding their meeting in support of the India Alliance. Now, does that bring us to the question that India Alliance alone, apart from, despite all the resolve and the stronger conviction they have emerged out with, but they cannot sustain without the support of the civil society group, because they are the ones who will be doing the heavy lifting when it comes to bringing the issues before the people. So are we going to see the 2024 elections, which will also belong to the civil society groups, apart from the India Alliance, who's going to emerge as a voice of the people?
Of course, because civil society groups, they do have a role to play, but I wouldn't really equate their role to that of the role that political parties can and should be doing, because the reach also would be sort of limited. The reach of the civil society groups, even if sort of well intended, they have a limited reach, in terms of resources also, in terms of physical as well as monetary resources. Now, the fact remains is that civil society groups have been harassed in this country a lot. Their FCRA cancellations happening. They have had ED and the CBI getting after them, right? On all kinds of specious grounds. So I think there will be a coalescing of some sorts, but it won't be of the scale that we sort of imagine it to be. And as such, I think their reach, as I said, is limited. Even in the states, where they exist, right?
Right.
So they cannot be a substitute to what political parties can do, in terms of taking the issues of the people, which have been highlighted by both Puneet as well as Anand. I mean, this corruption, whether it's communalism, etc., to the people. And yes, this whole issue about about crony capitalism, and that certain entities or the one entity getting favored, in fact, repeatedly, has somewhat caught the imagination of the public today. Whether there is a trail of money trail or not, or whether the SEBI does its work or not. Because obviously there'll be all kinds of loopholes which will be there, in fact, as part of the system itself, to sort of enable that no such that no major action is taken
Absolutely.
against this particular entity. But I think in the public imagination, it has gone through that that there are certain corporate entities, or maybe one or two entities, which are sort of backing this government, whether it's in the sense of electoral bonds. I mean, this mysterious electoral bonds, we do not know, but we know that the biggest beneficiary, of those bonds, is the BJP, right? So it's, but then this whole secrecy, okay, over the PM Cares fund, over over again the electoral bonds, etc. So all these things are going to be part of the narrative that
Right.
the opposition would be taking out, to the public. Yeah.
Right. Puneet, towards the last, I'll come to you now with the fact that the architecture of the India bloc seems to be some sort of, in some way or the other, it looks ready now. The pillars have been erected now. A lot of work has to, happen in the days to come. But what are the biggest challenges according to you? And is the road from here on tougher for the India bloc?
Most certainly. I mean, how they come together, stay together, and proceed further from here is ultimately what would test their electoral strength and determine the outcome of the 24 Lok Sabha elections. In terms of the challenges, quite simply, there are. I wouldn't say there are many, but seat sharing, yes, in some states, not in a lot of states, but some crucial and big states. So seat sharing is one. Secondly, the ability of the leaders of these parties to ensure it's not, it doesn't end with seat sharing. You have to then ensure that the cadres also get your votes transferred. And that is a major issue in, say, a state like Bengal, where the Congress, if the Congress, left, and Trinamool are all fighting on one side, and have an understanding, then for the Trinamool or for the Congress to get their votes transferred to the left candidate, and vice versa, is going to be a major challenge. Now, similarly, in say a Punjab or a Delhi, if the seat sharing between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party works out, one needs to see how effective it would be, and plus what kind of seats what are the numbers that the two parties contest, because you have to then see the organizational heft of those parties in mobilizing resources, mobilizing support, voters, etc. So that is certainly one challenge, and predominantly the challenge. Because when you talk of seat sharing, now a lot has been written about the compulsions and the problems and challenges, etc. But by and large, my view is, and why, when people, have, some of them have expressed surprise that, how is it that in 30 days you'll be able to come up with a seat sharing formula? It was such a huge alliance. What I'm given to understand from people in the parties that constitute the alliance, is that the major areas of friction have already been ironed out in most of the states, right? Now, where are the states where you have this issue of seat sharing? You don't have that issue in a Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, because these are bipolar states. Now, the issue is in equally important but big states of UP, 80
Right.
seats, Bengal, 42, Maharashtra, 48 seats, Tamil Nadu, 39 seats. So these are the states. But you also need to see that, look, in Kerala, the UDF is already intact and it already has a seat sharing formula which has worked
Right.
for it in successive elections. So the 20 seats of Kerala is more or less decided on where they'll go. Tamil Nadu, likewise, there is a seat sharing formula that is already in place, which did them really well in the 2019 elections. And so with the addition of one or two of the smaller, one constituency parties, there may be some tinkering there.
Right.
So the real challenge is basically Bengal, UP to some extent,
Right.
to a lesser extent Maharashtra,
Right.
and then Delhi and Punjab, which are 20 seats again, 7 and 13.
Absolutely.
So I don't see that it's that major an issue that could
Right.
derail the entire alliance.
Right.
But anything that's untoward, mind you, though we are from the same industry, the problem is that the India alliance has to fight the media as much as it has to fight the BJP.
Absolutely.
So
But
perhaps even more at times.
right.
So
Right.
any area where they derail even slightly is going to be blown out of proportion, and that is something they'll have to be mindful of.
Absolutely. And before, one quick comment from Mr. Sahai before I wind up the show, and a brief comment I wanted from you on this whole echo around one nation, one poll, which has started from this morning. Like yesterday, there was a talk about a special parliament session. Today, there is a committee which is formed by the government under the chairmanship of former President Ramnath Kovind. Now, I just wanted a brief comment from you that does it look that there are chances of an early poll or a poll which is going to be postponed? Is it some kind of a desperation on the part of the Modi government? How would you see that? And then I'll quickly wind up the show. A brief comment, sir.
To my mind, there are two separate things. One nation, one election is a ridiculous idea. It's an anti-India idea. It's an idea which is against the basic idea of the Indian Constitution, which was set up in the wake, after great discussion, it was set up in the wake of the freedom movement. To change that, to alter it, to mangle it, or do what you like is a long-term project. It may well be initiated now, I cannot say. That's one thing. Two, the whole notion of will the government go to the country now in December, along with assembly elections? I have put out the proposition, this very proposition, roughly 3 months ago in my writings, where my reasons were the following very quickly. One is, if they do badly in the state elections, I mean the BJP, then I fear that at the higher level of national politics, there will be a challenge to the Prime Minister's leadership from within his own party.
Right.
To forestall that, this step could be useful. Number two, all this high-profile international stuff going on. G20 in other countries, it's a routine affair. Here we've hyped it up to exalt only one man, not to exalt the country. So to take advantage of that, and also in the hope that in a limited period of time, the opponents, the ideological and the political opponents of the present regime will trip over themselves and somewhere goof up. Right. So do it quickly, but these are all tactical moves.
Right.
And therefore, I still think that it is very much on the cards. One nation, one election could be on the cards, may not be, idea has been floated and so on. But just one thing on that, a committee of the Law Commission has once said that idea will work only and only if you remove this constitution, not otherwise. Within the framework of our present constitution, one nation, one election is not feasible. It is not there in the constitution.
Right.
It is
Absolutely.
a totally extra constitutional idea.
Right. Well, all eyes now would be on the special session of the parliament, which has been called in from 18th of September to 22nd September. Guess is still on as to what the issue of this special session will be. What we are told apparently is that probably the government might make it clear after the G20 summit. So till then, the wait and watch game continues. Thank you so much. It was wonderful having you on the program, Mr. Sahai, Puneet, Rajlakshmi. It was wonderful. You all were there. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this live discussion, subscribe to our channel, send us your feedback, and stay tuned to the Federal. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.